G'day friends, welcome back to another episode of Regeneration Sunshine. I am clearing out Lantana, so come with me. I'll show you a bit of what we're doing and how to remove Lantana, or how I am removing Lantana. I'm working on a little patch here at the moment, just working on the path as I described earlier. And we're just going to be working off that and creating some distance on this path the whole way down. So here you can see is a nice patch that I have been able to clear through. And on the journey have found some little saplings like this guy, who we're going to, can you see him? Maybe not, maybe this, there. Who we're going to save and make sure that they have some light and some space and some nutrients to get growing. And there's this one as well, which I still don't know the name of, but it's a beautiful tree that is just low scrambling at the moment, but will grow into a tree now that it's not being overtaken by the Lantana. And it's, that's silverback sort of leaf that tends to get eaten out by the local bugs, which is good to see. Oh, and there's this little guy too. Not sure who that is, but yeah. So it's a little hard to see in contrast in the bush here, I must say, because of all of how much debris there is. But this here is the base of a Lantana plant. Zoom out. Cool. So to clear away some of this is the base of the plant. We're in pretty rocky soil here, so it could be hard to remove, but it's been nice and moist recently and it's drying out now, so that means the soil's really becoming nice and soft and pliable. And some of these plants have actually been previously cut back a little bit on the root through, so it's meant they've disturbed the plant a bit. And I think the plant's actually, sometimes the plant actually holds on more, but then also sometimes the plant loosens up. I'm not sure about the science of all of that, but some of these have been quite loose. So let's keep that vibe going, because it's horrible when you get to a Lantana that just won't come out. Because it just feels, you can really break your back doing it, but it also just feels, like a challenge, and like an insurmountable challenge. And then I just get really tired and stop. But anyway, so let's hope these are nice and easy to get out. You can see here there's even a little growth coming here, which is just going to be a big, huge new shoot if we don't get onto this. This is just going to turn into another one of these and just go. So that's characteristic Lantana. It just grows from, nodes just are all over this fucking plant. Excuse my French. So this one comes up here. You can see it comes up. It winds out that way. You can see this long one here. How far it goes. If I pull that, it just shakes all the surrounding thicket. This one comes up, this fresh here, comes up here. You can see how just intertwined it all is. And look how high it goes. This is a pretty small one, honestly. But that one goes all the way up to there. So it goes out in all directions, etc. Now, the considerations before pulling it out, in my opinion, is to first, try and make it as manageable as possible. And just start breaking it off if you can. Obviously use a tool if you need to, but I just snap it off. So just take that branch off. I'm just showing you in a slow version. That goes in a pile, and then I can keep working, and so I can come back and get this next one. So I want to make the root as manageable as possible by taking out all of the upper limbs. And then basically all that's going to be left is the bottom. Sometimes I pull it out completely and then just process it, but I'll show you both probably in this video. So I'm going to cut all that back. Then what's most important, what's the next bit, is that I'm going to be pulling this out of the ground, and this has mega roots. Okay, these have mega roots. They can go very far. That's how these spring up and do so well. They just come up out of their root systems. So this is going to spread really fast. So when I pull it out, all of the earth surrounding the plant is going to be really disturbed. So something that I want to look for is assessed really quickly around where there are any young natives that are growing, and yeah, determine what I'm going to do. Like, it's just a weighing up situation each and every time. Sometimes the young seedlings are of good natives are right by the bottom of the root, which can be a bit interesting, but you can actually succeed. Sometimes the young native saplings will come out of the ground a little bit, but they might not actually come out completely, so you can quickly really replant those and just keep them down, and if they do come out, that is. But I found that, honestly, I don't really lose that many seedlings. The main thing is that when you're trudging through and moving further in, that you yourself don't step on them and disrupt them again and again and again, that you actually end up killing them. But as well, even with that, I honestly find that if you're doing this by hand and you're doing this way, you're not sort of running through here with a fucking massive machine or whatever, these plants, the saplings and the young seedlings are actually really resilient. And you can actually step on them a couple of times and you'll realize, and you'll be like, oh, sorry, but it comes and springs back, and it's okay. They're really resilient, and especially so as well when they're somewhat established, such as this one, for example. Over here, this one's quite established. It's honestly quite well rooted down. So it's when I've pulled stuff up through here, and it lifts and it moves, but then this earth goes back down and it's still rooted in. So yeah, there's definitely hope for everything to stick around, but it's still good to have a look around for your own foot placement and for what's going to happen when you pull out by the roots. But as I look around, there's literally nothing here. There's something here, but I'm pretty sure that's Lantana. But I don't... Oh, no, it's not. No, it's just some little teeny-weeny weed, like a nightshade. So that's fine. Yeah, so there's nothing around. So I'm just going to cut this one back and then pull it out from the roots. From the roots. Okay, let's get into it. So as I said, just snapping. You'll see intersecting branches from other Lantana that you've just got to be wary of. And then what I do is, as the branch comes off, look at all of these other intersecting branches to really just reduce the surface area of this, so that when I chuck it down, I can just make a nice small pile and leave the ground as least disturbed as possible. I just go along. It's honestly quite simple to... It's very woody and has got some strength in some parts, but it really depends how young it is, how old it is. I haven't really figured out the formula, but you can just keep folding it down and trying your best to snap. Of course, if you have just a nice big area or you're removing the Lantana, you don't need to snap it off, I guess. You can just start chucking it out. But I find this to be the best way to reduce and keep small patches of old Lantana, so that you can monitor it and make sure that it's not growing back and see what's happening with it. Yeah. Very important with pulling out Lantana is protection. I wish I was naked, but that would be a poor choice. This is very sharp in places. You must have gloves. I mean, it's very coarse and has lots of spikes. It's poisonous, so it will leave your skin, you know, it's not going to kill you, but it's absolutely going to leave your skin really irritated, and you're going to break out in rash, etc. So you really need protection, full protection. I usually tie my hair back because also my hair gets caught in it, but this is all right. But absolute most important point, you really need glasses. You absolutely need glasses. Safety glasses are so important. I can't tell you the amount of times I've been down and just in a rage of pulling out Lantana, trying to snap back things and not really thinking about it. Obviously you get better at it and more mindful of it the more you do it and the more practice you get at it. And because you have mistakes where you push something and honestly it nearly just decapitates you. These, like, as they snap and they push, they're super sharp, they're fresh, and I've had big bits of Lantana like nearly just get into my eye, scratch over my face. So like, protect your eyes. Absolutely, you're going to be down in it and getting dirty. So PPE, everybody, safety absolutely is number one priority here. But you know, it's pretty equal with like, just get this fucking Lantana out of the ground and save the fucking forest. I'm sorry for my French today. The weather, I'm not sorry, I swear. The weather is absolutely, I take it with me. It's just this polar ice blast after a week of honestly beautiful, after winter, you know, it's winter here, and well, it's moving into spring, but we're coming to the end of winter, and the winter has been pretty brutal. As it always is for me, just a sweet, innocent young sunshine. And we had a week of just balmy, warm. Oh, I was like, oh, spring is here. We have been released from the chains that is winter. And yet here we are with just a reminder from Mother Nature that, well, no. We think we know. No. We're not in control. And so that's fun. And I've always got to remember that. But it hits my soul. A polar ice wind just really just cuts through the skin and hurts my wee inner fire. Okay. Back to the Lantana. So here we are, we've basically taken out as much as we can, and we're going to pull this out of the ground. Now, the other thing to think about at this point of the pulling out of the Lantana is that these are sharp. So you're going to be pulling, you don't want to pull this sharp object directly into you and, impale yourself and blah, blah. So just think about that. Obviously, your pulling technique. Manual handling, obviously. Don't pull with your back, get those legs and bum involved. But yeah, if you want to snap these back even more, just to make it a bit safer, do it. Then the next thing, sometimes they're small enough that it's just let's get it out, but this is quite a big boy with lots of different alternate, like they're all going different ways. It might even be two plants. So what I like to do is use my leg strength to sort of just release the roots a little bit. And as you can see, Lantana from other places is wanting to grab on and keep it in the ground and win, but it's not going to. So yeah, I just use my feet to release, and then that should, so see here, look at all those roots. That was a nice, easy one. But have a look. Oh, see, they just break off, which is fine. You're not going to get all of the root out. Some of the root's going to stay in the ground, and yes, it's going to send out new shoots in the future, which is why the process of this regeneration is, complex, and you need to have a process, and you need to be pulling out while also maintaining the area that you've removed the Lantana from, because more Lantana can come back, and you would be wasting your time if you didn't go back over that and make sure that nothing was regrowing and pulling out those smaller seedlings from, yes, leftover root tubers. Tubers isn't the right word, but, roots. Build up the roots. Do. Oh, I really want to see the talking heads live. Not the talking heads, but, well, oh, okay. Time to focus. This one is... Okay, this one is absolutely insane. Oh, okay. So then if I'm having trouble, which this one is trouble, I can get down and get down and find the roots and really just get directly under them rather than trying to pull from the top with no leverage and start to pull them out. But as I can feel down in this, there's a really deep root that's going way down, which is always going to be a lot harder to remove. Oh, there we go. And if they're intersecting with other roots or older roots, yeah, they can be pretty rough. That was the hardest one I've had today. So, there's that. As compared to something nice and small like this little guy, I can just go beep, 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 beep. Okay, so there's that one. Now I can start moving back and getting to the others. Might just time lapse this to give you a bit of a sense of getting a little patch done. Really good session, super energized after it. Absolutely need some breakfast though. Just want to share that it is so fulfilling. I was so drained this morning, and the energy of the weather and whatever else has got to me, and I was feeling super down. But I knew that if I just came out here and got into it and did something with my body and meditated, because this is super meditative. You're just in the zone, in flow when doing it, when you get your head around it. And yeah, and it was just magic, and I just feel so much better. But also I wanted to share that it turns from like pulling out Lantana, just pulling out Lantana, which can seem like a really insurmountable and futile task, to then to a reframe when you're doing it of saving trees, saving plants, because you are, and you find them and you uncover them and you let them breathe and you give them light, and that's quite fulfilling and breathes some meaning into the process and makes it feel a little less futile. So I'm going to show you a few of those little finds and wins from today of who we've been able to hopefully save from the smothering depravity that is Lantana. And just before I do that, I wanted to share why we pull it out from the roots. Oh, why I think we should pull it out from the roots. Oh, hello, Lantana. Because it just regrows. It just regrows. As I showed you on that first one, that little node, it'll just start growing. So if you can cut it all the way back, and if we're not using poison, which is the plan here, to not use poison, that is central to regeneration, really. Let's stop poisoning the earth and actually just have a syntropic relationship with it and help it heal naturally, and just put in the effort, put in the labor, rather than trying to quicken it with this with this pharmaceutical solution which is just money for big pharma and destruction for the planet. So let's actually let the earth breathe. So pulling it out from the roots is sort of the option that I think is the best way to go. It requires a lot of physical strength some of the time it doesn't. So it certainly requires, physical labor and effort this way. The other option, though, is to sort of kill all of the root and the plant, but not needing to pull it out of the ground, which can be quite laborious, is to use a little bit of poison, which I haven't used, but if it gets to a point where I need to think about using it, I might. But this is a way that the poison, the herbicide, just goes directly into the plant, and you're not spraying across a big area, and potentially killing other species and getting it onto the soil. This is literally cutting the lantana at some sort of point. You've taken off all of the material to let the light in, and etc., and then you just put a little bit of, you literally paint it on to the wound of the tree, and because you've just cut it, it literally soaks it all in and kills the root, and the root dies in the earth, stopping any new growth. Not a process that I have tried or really want to, and haven't seen a need to do so. So I probably won't be doing that. But who knows what will happen and how difficult this might get. So yeah, that's why we pull out from the roots. I could talk for hours about that. So let's get into it, and I'm going to show you, before we sign off, who we've saved. So first of all, I was able to find this little vine, which is native to here, because this is a vining rainforest ecosystem that we live in, which the lantana has taken over. So this is a beautiful little vine that was wrapped around some lantana. So I've just pulled it over here, and this was really difficult not to keep stepping on and potentially ripping, as it's so dainty and small. But with effort and care, I was able to keep it from being ripped out of the ground, and hopefully it will climb up this tree and get nice and strong. And then over here was a surprise eucalypt that was here, that has been previously snapped off and then regrown and come out thriving. Again, the lantana was sort of keeping this one up, so it's still pretty strong, but yeah, it'll be good to stand up against this old detritus here, and yeah, keep it growing. A really interesting grass sort of tree that I have no idea what that is, or it's just a grass. I'm going to look that one up, but that's quite pretty. That's 3. And then lots of my little favorite guys, who I still don't know what they are, but I always see them at this level. So one here, there's one there, and there's another one over there. So that's 3, so that's 6. There's this, again, another, I believe it might be a wattle. I'm not sure. It could be a gum. Anyway, this I actually snapped this off. So it was dead to the top, and it had snapped off and died, but it was regrowing at the bottom. Again, another product of the lantana. So it was able to grow back. So what I've done, and what I want to call to attention to, is what I spoke about earlier at some point, which was that, I think that regeneration is very syntropic, or that what I'm trying to do is a syntropic relationship with the forest, to not only take away the lantana and help them grow, help the saplings grow. Sorry, just checking I wasn't standing on something. But also just helping the natural succession of the forest to go on and on and on, which I can talk about in another video, to sort of accelerate it and get it quick, and allow the forest to more effectively and efficiently move towards where it wants to go, which is to its natural state, which is to a dry rainforest, vine thicketed ecosystem. So how we do that is we just help everything along. So not with fertilizers and things, but with just physical interventions. So this tree here, it had all of this growth up here, so all I did was snap it off. There was literally no new growth at the top. What that's going to do is allow these lower branches to have a lot more energy, grow quicker, and then all of the biomass that I chopped off here in terms of the branch is now in the ground where it naturally would have gone to anyway when it rotted out and died just much further along in the process. And now it's on the ground, able to replenish the nutrients in the ground. That's like a really short answer to what it is. And there's lots of different considerations there. You know, sometimes you do want an old branch like this one, for example. Like, well, maybe not this one because it's so small, but you don't want to just cut down old trees just so that they can be carbon in the soil, because, you know, they also serve other purposes, like homes for certain insects or homes for certain birds or whatever. So there's so much complexity to an ecosystem that you don't want to just apply the same treatment always. But in this instance, I was like, well, this is just a regrowing. Let's just snap it off. So I think there's a lot of considerations in terms of syntropy, especially with the bush regeneration. But that's where I'm starting, just applying the treatments every now and then, and making a judgment call at the time. And so this is an example. So this here is just a dead piece of wood. It's just a dead tree. It's not going to regrow. I still don't know why that's happening around here. I think it's mainly to do with the lantana, but just so many of the trees here on the border of the forest are just dead. And I do think that there's a part of natural succession there going on, but I do think there's other things going on. Very likely the lantana sapping all of the nutrients and poisoning them, because this is where it is the thickest. So yeah, it's fine to be here, but it's also, it would also be, in my opinion, positive to just push this over, which I have done in other locations here, which was in the time lapse. You know, when there was just branches and stuff, I was just able to push them down and stomp on the ground and get them further into the earth. And it just allows all of this to start rotting down quicker, and, as I said, getting nutrients back into the earth. So there would be I don't think really any negative with pushing this one over, but I'm going to leave it for now anyway, because I'm going to have to pick it up again anyway because of all of this lantana that I'm going to at some point need to get rid of. And there's trees in the way, like there's a tree just there that I don't want to hurt. And some of the small saplings around that, again, I don't want to just accidentally trample with my supposedly helpful syntropy. So yeah, anyway, that's like 7. There's one here, another little wattle, 8, another wattle there, 9. Over here is an example. There's a beautiful little brush here, which is 10, but there's some lantana around it, so I'm not counting it right now. But yeah, pretty sure it's a little native bush, which is very cute. But here I wanted to, lastly, before I sign off, because this video is going to be a million years, there's one, and that one that we saw earlier that I showed you with the silverback, so that's 10. And here there's 2. So here is a little gum, which is so pretty, and here, I'm not sure what this is. I think this is a big version of this little guy that I like see everywhere. So I'm going to monitor this one and see what it turns out to be. Still don't know what it is. Very hard to identify saplings, honestly. Even if you look at the plants, they all just look different. But this is lantana right here. So here's an example of where I've decided to leave the lantana in, because pulling this out is really going to jeopardize this gum and whatever this is. So, it's just too difficult to pull it out and potentially not hurt these 2. So I'm going to allow these 2 to just grow up a lot more and establish before I pull it out, so as to not harm them. And we'll just monitor this and see what happens. Yeah. Okay. Bye. Thanks for watching. I hope you don't have lantana, but if you do, I hope this helps, and I hope you get to pulling it out safely and effectively, and just get it done. Just get it done. Okay, peace and love.